Welcome to the Disruptive Social Care Podcast with social care provocateur and social media queen Shirley Ayres and myself, Stuart Arnott, founder of Mindings, a service dedicated to bringing social media to the disconnected. In this weekly show, we aim to spread the word about what's going on in the world of disruptive social care, amplify the voices of people with great ideas that few people have ever heard about, help our communities connect and collaborate, and interview thought leaders across the sector. Well, Shirley, hello, show number 10.
Indeed, and I think this calls for a special celebration. Bring on the biscuits. And this is just a week before my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday. I've got my cup of tea there. We've got the biscuit barrel over there. We'll see how long it takes us to crack into that. and not just any old biscuits, none of your Tesco value biscuits. This is, for people who have been asking, this is, we record the show in the Sound Company in Soho in London, and they have the best biscuits, and they're known for having the best biscuits in Soho. None of your Tesco value nonsense. This is Foxy's biscuits, so enjoy them. And incidentally, I don't know if you know, but this was the studio where Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds was recorded.
I'm very impressed.
Not this particular one, but one of the ones upstairs.
Wow.
She says that. She doesn't really. She asked me earlier on who Jeff Wayne was.
Well, yes, I've been told off by both Stu and Dom that I don't know who he is, but never mind.
So, Shirley, what's been happening this week in the world of social care?
Where to start? The publication of two really useful new social media guides. I'd like to give a mention to the Social Workers Educational Trust, talk about Stanford MedX, Careship, Channel Shift and the health debate.
You'll look forward to all of them.
Royal College of General Practitioners has launched their draft social media highway code for GPs, written by Claire GP and Dr. Ben Riley. Honesty, hospitality, fair play, loyalty, trust, consideration and respect are enduring principles that should govern doctors' behaviour and must simply be applied to the new online world, according to the draft guidance. An interesting question asked by Gemma Finnegan about whether we have a social care equivalent. And sadly, the answer is a resounding no.
No, but I certainly recommend downloading that and having a look at it. It was a really excellent document.
Very, very impressive. And this week also, a new social media guide for non-profits called About That First Tweet has been published by Misfits Media and Unity Trust Bank. And it's well worth a read. It's got some really interesting case studies. I want to talk about the Social Workers Educational Trust, which was established by the British Association of Social Workers because it's an independent charity that provides small grants and an annual research scholarship to support qualified social workers who've completed at least 2 years post-qualifying practice. And the support is to help social workers develop their knowledge and skills and to encourage research into social work practice. Now, there have been so many cutbacks in local authority training budgets, and this is such an important source of funding for social workers to continue their professional development. I followed Stanford MedX online, and the MedX conference was an inspiring catalyst for new ideas about the future of medicine, healthcare, and emerging technologies. I just get so excited about all the innovation that is happening globally, and it's definitely worth having a look at the videos.
That sounds great. Is that anything to do with TED and TEDx?
It isn't, although it's a similar model. And interestingly, Patient Opinion was cited as an innovative patient feedback system developed in the UK.
Oh, excellent. Well, we beat them to it by having the show every week, of course.
Of course. If I asked you what Careship meant for you, Stu, what immediately comes to mind?
Careship. Well, I know that Saga have a fleet of liners that they take people on cruises on. So is that a new ship that they have?
Well, this has provoked quite a lot of debate. Is Careship really the future for social care leadership? And in a sense, this debate was prompted by an article in The Guardian which asked the question, how can social care tackle its image problem? And it was promoting the concept of careship, which is a combination of care and leadership, which could possibly become the sector's quality mark. Now, comments on Twitter expressed concern about whether this was the right way forward for social work, social care. There were lots of nautical references. And as you rightly say, is this a new cruise ship? And it was also pointed out to me that changing one letter of careship would be very unfortunate, and I suspect not the image that we want to project.
Oh, let me see if I can work that one out.
I'd like to sort of a comment from @ForSocialWork about careship. Rolls eyes, a silly, meaningless name of the marketing rebranding ilk. And there is an existing word for leadership. Mm-hmm. Now, the National Skills Academy for Social Care have been in touch and asked me to point out that they believe the sector is generally in favour of this concept. Sorry, but I'm not convinced that this reflects the social care sector as a proud and professional vocation. But I'd really be interested in people's viewpoints. Do you think careship is the best thing to happen to social care in the last few months? Or do you also share my doubts?
Tweet us and why don't we just start a post on Facebook and just see if we can get some comments from people.
That's a very good idea, Stu. Yes. Also read a really interesting post from @StuartBerry1, a GP who has written about the need for channel shift in the NHS. And this, of course, also has implications for social care. Now, channel shift is all about exploring how we can help the NHS to communicate better, more efficiently, and in a sense with fewer steps in the chain of communication, which will improve the patient's experience and save money. There's lots of excellent advice and suggestions for improving online engagement in this post, so definitely worth a read. And on a slightly more frivolous note, I've been playing with the Strapoline-O-Matic, where you could generate a strapline at the press of a button, which was developed by @ST for Girls, following a great post about the A to Z of council straplines, swapsies, dribbles and cliches, question mark.
I have to admit I had a little play with it. I had to go, and here's a few. I thought, I wonder if we can come up with a strap line for Disruptive Social Care podcast. But here we go. Creating transformational partnerships for everyone. I think some local councils have actually been using this. Driving better excellence for the future. Because obviously excellence isn't good enough. We need better excellence. And this is my favourite. Driving bigger strap lines with purpose.
And you say it so authoritatively, Stu. I am very impressed. Oh, dear. It really is quite fun to play with, though. My new toy. And on a slightly less frivolous note, of course, my summary of the health debate, which has been held at all three party conferences, live streamed and with some pretty robust comments on Twitter. The public understand the NHS, but social care is fragmented and confusing, and that actually is our biggest challenge. We need a new definition for social care, which includes the police. And thanks for the reminder at Mental Health Cop. Also, of course, we need to include housing in this definition. There's very different cultures and language between health and social care. And good social care, market development and commissioning are the key to ensuring choice is meaningful rather than just a good idea. Thanks to @Jeff Skippen @MRoutledge. Now, there were no mentions in the debate, interestingly, about the implications of the increasing number of people self-funding their own social care. A great question from @Alex Shared Lives. What lessons can we learn from social care about personal budgets?
It's an interesting question, as we mentioned that last week.
Well, as they're being rolled out across the health service, I think, there needs to be a bit more joined up thinking about what works. And a reminder from @Laura B. Work that working age disabled people also use social care. It isn't just about older people, which is important to remember.
Good point.
And something obviously we discussed with Paul Hodgkin from Patient Opinion. High quality care is actually more important than having a wide choice of providers. And a lovely quote from @Farah Mick of the NHS Confederation. For many older people, we need a care service with medical adjunct rather than a medical service with a care adjunct.
Good point.
And I think it's this really sort of interesting, how do we get integrated services? They're becoming increasingly important. And actually, who should be taking the lead, I think, is another hot debate. Now, did you know, Stu, this week is Hospice Care Week, OCD Awareness Week, and of course today, as we're recording this podcast, it is World Mental Health Day.
I certainly knew it was World Mental Health Day.
And I'd recommend an excellent post from Mary O'Hagan in The Guardian, which is pointing out that mental health needs a place in the spotlight. Certainly worth reading. Now, what about you, Stu? I know you've had a pretty busy diary recently.
Yeah, it's been really busy, and I've got a busy time coming up as well. I mean, apart from my daughter not being very well because she started school started this disease incubation place that they call school. So we've been laid up for the last few days. I'm not feeling too great. But apart from that,
sorry to hear that. Glad you're here, though, Stu.
But yeah, I've been to a few events. I was at the Entrepreneur Country Forum on the 26th of September, which is a group that was founded by Julie Mayer, who was the founder of First Tuesday. Julie Mayer was one of the architects of the first internet bubble. And a really great organisation with some fantastic speakers, including Joe Malone, from Joe Malone fame, and Charlie Mullins from Pimlico Plumbers. Have you heard of Pimlico Plumbers?
Of course I have. He was on The Secret Millionaire, actually.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that, but he's quite a character. And his business is founded on three simple things. Turn up on time, do the job properly, tidy up after yourself. Simple as that. And he says, as far as he's concerned, most of the business is common sense. But the problem is that most people out there don't have common sense. That's his point. But it was a very good event. They always have good speakers at that event. And their keynote speaker at the end was Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden, which they started off by playing one of his tracks, and the lights went down, and it was all very rock and roll. But he's actually an entrepreneur in his own right, and he ran an airline, and he says he's quite a renaissance man. He was the world number 9 fencing champion. Anyway, it was a very good event. I enjoyed that.
But I like the idea of starting your speech with playing a few tunes, really.
Yeah, rock and roll track. I have to think about how I do my next minings presentation, bringing in a bit of rock and roll. So that was good. I was also at an event yesterday by the Technology Strategy Board.
Oh, right.
Who've got some fantastic new schemes coming up now at the moment. They've got Catapult, which is coming up, which is an endeavour to bridge the gap between companies who want ideas and public sector and people who have ideas, and they will bridge them. So it's very good. They've got some great things coming up. I'm flicking through the literature at the moment. Smart, in which they've got some grants for small, medium enterprises. And a lot of what they're doing is they're shifting giving grants to big companies, to smaller companies, to SMEs, which is great, and some concept commercialisation, which a great brochure they've got just now, which you can download online at the moment from the website. We'll put a link in the website, which is their strategy for business innovation from 2011 to 2015. So it was very good. There was a lot of good presentations there from the Intellectual Property Board as well. What does your business need to innovate? So I really enjoyed that. And a new thing which is called innovation vouchers, which is, they described it as a bit like premium bonds, but you apply for these vouchers and you get up to £5,000, which will help you. You can use them to get consultancy, to go to universities, get people there to do your research for you. So that was very good. It was an impressive event. In terms of Mindings, we've built a new website. It makes it easier for people to, if you go to mindings.com, to make it very simple to show you how you can get Mindings, either by buying a device from us, an Android tablet device, so we can help you buy that via our website through Amazon, or if you wanted to set it up on using a tablet or an iPad or a laptop that you have. So we've been busy working on that. But another thing I thought would be interesting is, did you read last week about the Open Dyslexic font?
Yes, there's been a lot of talk on Twitter about that.
Yeah, I thought this was brilliant. So we had Techno Kitten, Helen Keegan on here a few weeks back, and I don't know if you remember, I was talking about how it's very difficult when you're designing something to get icons that are intuitive, that everybody knows about. I mean, you know, the kind of the play, pause and stop icons, everybody knows what they are, but what's a menu icon? different people use different things. In fact, if you use Google Chrome, they just a couple of weeks ago changed their icon for settings from a spanner, which I thought made sense, to 3 horizontal lines.
I wondered what they were.
Yeah, well, that's a new settings button. And the thing is about Chrome is it
dear.
updates automatically, so it's a real pain. It's a pain for developers because we had to go back and we had to make changes on our instructions because we were telling people to look for the symbols. It's a bit annoying when Google do that. Stop doing that, please, Google, without consulting with people. The reason they've done that is because the settings icon on Android, on your Android tablets, is the 3 horizontal lines. But the thing is, to me, 3 horizontal lines is a thing that you use for scrolling. Anywho. I was saying to Helen, what we need to do is get people together, particularly with care groups, and come up with a set of icons that everybody can agree with and then open source them so that everybody can we can use them and become well known. Well, this guy took that principle, and there is a font that people with dyslexia use in which the bottoms of the letters are quite heavy. And it's a very expensive font to license. So this guy made up his own, and he called it the Open Dyslexic Font. A chap called Abelardaro Gonzalez. And so we saw that and we thought, well, that's great. We could do that. And so literally in the course of a couple of hours, I just said to Ian, my colleague at Mindings, could we do that? And he said, yeah. And he just tapped away. And it's there. So we actually have the font, and I've got a picture here which we'll put onto the video, which you can see it works there on Mindings. If you send a text message or it does the captions all in this font, because normally what happens is the letters kind of float about, but
Yes, they do.
the heavier base on the letters, it grounds them. So that was quite fun. We did a blog post about that. I'll put the link onto that. But
I'm going to go and have a look at your site now
yeah,
and
there
see
you
this
go.
in action.
So I thought that was quite fun. It was a nice little job to do. This section of the programme is called Follow Friday because it's Friday that we release the show, but also people who use Twitter use hashtag FF Follow Friday to recommend people to their community. So Shirley, I'm just going to reveal to the readers that she broke into the biscuit barrel already. Shirley, who have you got that we should be following on Twitter this week?
I'm just starting my birthday celebrations early, Stu. I hope that's okay. What I notice all the time is that new people are joining Twitter and trying to understand the etiquette and how it works. So I'd just like to recommend that if you are new to Twitter, it is worth looking at the very helpful guides provided by Twitter. And that is, everything from what to do if your account is hacked. And that continues to be a big problem for Twitter. When you get those sort of dodgy messages that you definitely shouldn't click on as a direct message, through to understanding about following numbers, the ratio of how many people you can follow as to how many followers you've got. So we'll put a link up to that because that is an excellent resource that you can access through Twitter. A Follow Friday for Paul Coxon81 for his always thoughtful posts, including his recent very challenging on the abuse of power. And this, of course, has been very much in the news in the last couple of weeks with the hashtag exposure, which has been looking at abuse happening to children in the 70s. At Broken Bottle is one of my favourite bloggers, and he's not afraid to explore controversial topics. And one of his most recent posts includes why the internet would make it harder for the famous to abuse underage girls today.
I had been thinking that, actually.
And I think his argument and his insightful thoughts about it, we should all read. I thought, very brave to write it.
It's a very good point, actually, on that issue. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, is that if you've heard people talking about real name policies that on social media, that people should be made to reveal their real names. And one of the main arguments against that is that a lot of social media gives an outlet to people who would rather remain anonymous. And by stripping them of their ability to be anonymous, then we would be taking away something, a very powerful tool that they could have.
So it remains an interesting debate, but and what's important actually is that we're talking about it. Social media is allowing people to debate, to discuss, and certainly to be encouraged. Social media, the great leveller. And my next follow forward is at Kirsty Evidence for her thinking about the most effective ways of sharing knowledge and information, and the excellent post, Why Your Knowledge Sharing Portal Will Probably Not Save the World. Now, I spend a lot of time working out how we can provide information, advice, support for people in social care. And I'm so aware that there are so many different websites and working out what's the most effective way to get everybody connected. And especially with our sort of definition of social care as including everything that keeps someone safe in the community. So the question she poses is the lack of portal the problem? Is someone else already doing it? My new word of the week, portal proliferation. Can it be hosted on Facebook or another channel? We need to go to where people are rather than trying to get them to come to our websites.
Yep.
And that lovely question, whose one-stop shop is it? Who's got ownership? Because if it's with one organisation, that's an incredible responsibility for them. But also, if other people feel that they're in competition with them, the problem is, that, we're not going to promote them because we've got our own site. So really does suggest the need for much more partnership and collaboration. I'd like to give our congratulations to the brilliant at Norms, who has been nominated for a Pride of Britain Award.
Good for Norms, lovely man.
Lovely, yes. And at Cal444, Caroline Mitchell is an insightful, thought-provoking blogger. And she recently wrote an excellent post, Cooking Up a Storm, which identified the challenges for Casserole Club, one of our favourites, in finding diners, because local authorities, hospitals and charities are surrounded by red tape who can't get past the health and safety, something we have discussed, Stu.
Absolutely.
And a lovely quote at Cal444, the red tape is imaginary, and community casserole clubs will spring up without official help. It might just take a bit more time to find the diners.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, is the minute you start to get people at local authorities involved, they're going to want to inspect the kitchens, they're going to want everybody's CRB checked. So I think it needs to happen despite local authorities.
Well, I mean, on the one hand, I think, local authorities should be in the forefront of promoting innovation, especially in social care. And somehow we really have got to think about, what are the barriers and the challenges. Yeah, interesting. And my final follow Friday is for at Mental Health Cop. He writes an incredibly insightful and informative blog about the police and mental health. Lots of really good resources, highly recommended.
Well, I would like to mention our friend Martin Sibley, who joined us in the studio a few weeks ago. Martin's great. He was a guest on the show a few weeks ago and he told us about his epic European disability road trip. I do urge you to go to his website and check that out. Martin wanted to travel around Europe, including Amsterdam, France, Germany, Poland, Lithuania and the Czech Republic, and he wanted to blog everything about the logistics of setting it up and doing it, the different physical environments he encountered, the people he meets, things like accessible tourism, and different views on disability, and of course raising money and awareness on routes. And it's certainly been a fascinating and entertaining story to follow. His YouTube videos are very good.
But I've been enjoying them.
Yeah, and the dramas from the last minute adapted motorhome that fell through.
I know, that was very sad, wasn't it?
Oh no, it didn't seem to be anybody's fault, but he just decided to persevere anyway. To a cute video I was watching last night of them singing in a campfire in Poland. Beer fueled. So it's very good. So I do urge people to watch it. It's very good.
And of course, on his travels, he's also launched the Dconference 2012, which brings together 14 disabled people and organisations to discuss how the internet has helped them with their disability in a variety of ways, which includes education, employment, care and relationships. Worth signing up. It is free. Do listen and contribute your own thoughts.
Absolutely. Well, we'll put all these details, as we do, and other information about things that we've been talking about on the show notes on the website, which, as usual, is at disruptivesocialcare.com, and then our Facebook page at facebook.com/disruptivesocialcare. And, of course, you can follow me at Minding Stew.
And you can follow me at Shirley Ayres.
And if you do tweet about the show, and please do tell your communities about us, remember to use the hashtag DEUKCare. And as I discovered just the other week, if you have a question you want to ask about social care, if you use that hashtag, it's like the bat signal and you'll get responses quicker. So there you go. So Shirley, what do we have coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Well, firstly, I'd like to mention the Courtan Arts Largactil Shuffle sponsored Walk 2012 for mental health, which actually is on the 13th of October, starting at 11:45 from the Maudsley Hospital and finishing at Tate Modern. Now, the event will be a fun guided cultural walk for mental and physical well-being and will also help to raise much-needed funds for Courtan Arts. Do check out their website. It's delightful. The National Children and Adults Services Conference is taking place in Eastbourne from the 24th to the 26th of October. And it's good to see that George Julian is running a session on social media as a tool for citizen and community engagement. They're covering an enormous amount of subjects in 3 days. It's quite interesting to look at the programme. There are lots of great events planned for the Economic and Social Research Council Festival of Social Science, which takes place from the 3rd to the 10th of November.
Whereabouts is that?
They're all over the country. They've got this really, really full calendar, and you can find out regionally what events are happening, debates, discussions. Worth looking at.
And they have a hashtag as well, so you can keep a lookout for stuff.
We do indeed. And finally, I'd like to say kudos to at RLSB Charity, which helps blind and partially sighted young people to live life without limits, because they've organised an interesting event called Technology Without Limits, Designing for the 100%. Taking place on the 30th of November. And as we've discussed many times, access technology urgently needs an upgrade. It's expensive, quickly obsolete and underinvested. The time has come to start making technology for the disabled 20% and start designing new technology for all of us. So technology is so smart, so simple and so powerful it works for everyone. So if you're inspired by the idea of technology, do come to this event. I've already signed up. Well, what about you, Stu?
More Dragon's Den for me. Ooh. Incidentally, on that last note, this is something that not just people interested in accessibility. If you're a developer, there's some amazing opportunities, some really great opportunities there to show what you can do, to do some really interesting things with technology and accessibility. So just a little point there that get involved. Anyway, yes, my bizarre Dragon's Den type life it's actually more like a cross between Dragon's Den and Groundhog Day, because it's the same thing every day. So I've got a couple of big meetings next week. One of them is, I've mentioned before, the Set Square Partnership, which is a collaboration between the University of Bath, Bristol, Exeter, Southampton and Surrey. And they spin in and spin out businesses, and they've been giving us with Mindings a lot of support. And it's the 9th annual investment showcase next Thursday at the Institute of Civil Engineers in London. And from a process that's been going on for about a year, we've been whittled down to the final 8.
Wow.
And I just discovered the other day that Bardowell are one of the other 8 as well. So fortunately it's not a competition, but I think he's presenting after me, so we've had a little bit of an online competition about that.
Ooh, that's really exciting. And
yeah,
I think,
great.
I have to tell you, it's probably an auspicious date because it's my birthday. So I should be thinking about you on the 18th of October.
It's going to be some day, because my wife is launching her new business that day at an event she's hosting at Imperial College as well. So I'll be whizzing from that one along there, and I'll raise a glass to you that day as well. And also I have another meeting. I can't mention the company, but it's a big meeting on Monday that we have with a hardware company, and we're quite far down the line with discussions with them. So it's not. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week.
Oh, exciting.
And this isn't another thing coming up. This is something I forgot to mention earlier on, but I wanted to mention this last week. There was a fantastic blog post that Claire O.T. did and I was wondering if you'd read it. It was, but didn't you say it was about the numbers? It was a really good post, so I just want to make sure I don't miss that and mention it again this week. And it was all about people participating in the SMS Health event in Leeds, and just the power, the reach that you can get by adding social media to your event. And she's broken it down into some quite remarkable statistics, analysing what tweets were retweeted in the timeline of the day and who was the tweet. There's just some fascinating, fantastic stats. So I'll turn that into coming up next week. So I'll leave that as homework for people. So next week, this is for other people to do. Check out the blog. I'm going to put the URL there, but I've really enjoyed that.
And worth mentioning, actually, Claire O.T. is organising a really interesting event in Leeds, which is bringing together small and medium businesses with the Health and Wellbeing Board to look at how innovation can be developed for health and social care. She really is quite an innovator, our Claire.
She's a force of nature. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
I don't know how she finds time to do all this. Anyway, follow Claire on Twitter. So that's us. That's what's coming up in the next few weeks.
Excellent. Well, that's it from us this week. We hope you enjoyed it. We certainly did. And if you enjoyed it, please help us spread the word.
That's right. Come visit us at disruptivesocialcare.com and on our Facebook page at facebook.com/disruptivesocialcare. Remember to tell your friends and your communities about us. That's us from this week. We're going to help ourselves to some more biscuits over there.
Bye.
Bye.